Alright, so I am here to review Dario Argento's Deep Red. I am wearing a red shirt for this occasion. Deep Red. A couple stories to tell. The idea to watch this, I guess I should say, came from Bloodbath TV. They did a review on it. They said, I watched the first few minutes of it. And it's an Argento film. Okay, Argento, I watched Suspiria. Suspiria was okay. I didn't think that was up to the hype. I thought it was good. It was polarizing because of the lighting and music and stuff. I liked the music. Goblin was good. Goblin also did music for this. And that's kind of a mixed aspect for me, but we'll get to that. And then they got, we're going to reveal who the killer is towards the beginning. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get this spoiled because I want to see this eventually. So I started looking up on eBay, and they had a a Blu-ray that I was going to get. And I was going to do this for the Pick 1070s, which I'm eventually going to do. But then I found out this was free on Vudu. So if you want to watch this movie, it's free on Vudu. I'm assuming it's the regular cut, not the extended one you get on the Arrow release, because they say there are scenes that are just in Italian, and it just doesn't seem like that. Like, it's mostly dubbed in English, this one, so yeah, so I'm recording this, and if you're watching this the day of, it's the day after Thanksgiving. So last night I came home from Thanksgiving, and I was just watching TV, and I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting really tired. So I laid down, woke up at 1:45 in the morning, and was watching some YouTube videos in the bedroom there. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to watch a movie. So I went out here, turned on this kitchen light, right, because this is the kitchen, and I'm like, I don't want to have to look through my movies and pick something. Like, wait, Deep Red. I should watch that. That's on Vudu. So I watched it. I made the mistake of watching it in the dark because I got like halfway through it and I was starting to fall asleep. Even with the awesome Goblin Score playing, it was almost lulling me to sleep. Just like, yeah, it made me go to sleep. So I stopped watching it, finished it this morning. And so here I'm going to tell you my review. It took 3 minutes almost to do that story. So yes, it's a mystery horror slasher film involving a character named Mark, or Marcus, who's investigating the death of one of his neighbors, I think. She was a psychic, and he starts to investigate her murder, leads him down a path with this reporter named Gianna, and a children's writer, and a mysterious abandoned house. And there's a murderer going around killing people, and some misdirection, and yeah. So overall thoughts, I thought this was pretty good. I thought it was better than Suspiria. Some people might scream out blasphemy, but I thought it was actually better than Suspiria. So far, it's the best of Argento I've seen, and I've only seen this, Suspiria, and the Masters of Horror episode he did, Jennifer, which I thought was also pretty good. But yeah, this was pretty good. I'm starting to get used to the dubbing. Like, I'm an anime fan. I watch anime, but animation is easier to get because, you know, everything is dubbed in animation. So it's easier to accept. Here, it's a little bit iffy when you see an actual human being being overdubbed in English. You know, but it works. It's also very weird because you have David Hemmings playing the role of Mark, and he's British. Everyone else is supposed to be Italian, but they have like an English-American accent. So, because we can overdub in English. So, yeah. The Goblin Score. Let's talk about the Goblin Score before I get into the plot details, okay? It's good. I like the score, but I think that some of the score is not appropriate for the scene in which they're put in. Like, there's a scene where Mark is investigating the mysterious house, and the score is going bang, 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 bang. I'm like, It's supposed to be a mysterious scene of him skulking around the house. What? Why would you play rocking guitar music when he's supposed to be investigating a house? Didn't you put some kind of mysterious music? The main theme, that or whatever it is, I like that. And there's this weird, I don't know if Goblin did this one, but there's this weird children's song that plays most of the time when the killings are happening. It's like a calling card of the murderer, I guess. That is kind of creepy. Yeah, so we start off, and I'm not going to talk about the actual starting scene before the credits because that's a bit of a spoiler. Sort of. It goes into a spoiler later, so I'll talk about that later. But we start off at this building where this psychic lady is talking and demonstrating. She's basically waving off the idea that psychics can actually see the future, and that she can only see the here and now and read people's minds that are here now. And she reads the mind of the killer. And like, she can read people that are here and now what they've done, I guess. She reads the mind of the killer, and that's when she ends up getting killed. I like her killed, put down on a piece of broken window, you know, shattered window thing. I like that. But this is, and it's really weird because our main character, Mark, is actually brought into this by happenstance. He is just walking home, and he happens to stop by his drunk buddy Carlo, who's outside, drunk, of course. And he happens to witness this murder and go to investigate. Calls the cops. Now, he calls the cops like a couple times in this movie on murders that happen. Well, I think because the writer, the children's writer, I don't think he calls the cops. I think he says he just left the body for the police to find. But your fingerprints are there, right? I don't know. It's really weird. You at least touched a door. By the way, no one knocks in this, really. Except for when he goes to see Carlo, who's at his boyfriend's house. Yes, there is a gay couple in this, which they don't utilize it very well. And the other partner is played by a woman dressed like a man, so could be trans in 1975. Who knows? But, yeah. That's the only time I think he actually knocks. All the other times he just walks in. Like, he goes to see this woman and he walks in the door. It's like, you knock, dude, and then she's dead. Which, I really don't see how this children's writer has anything to do with the plot other than to add a death scene. Like, once we find out who the killer is, you're like, wait a minute, what did she have to do other than writing the song that is played or a book on the house? I don't know. That's the one thing I walk away confused with, is why she had anything to do with the plot other than she wrote a book about the abandoned house. I don't know. That's a confusing part to me, but yeah, so they start the investigation, and they start pointing fingers at who did it, and he talks to the guy who was at the building that his neighbor was at, the psychic lady, about what's going on, and they go to investigate the writer. The writer is murdered, and she writes something on... It's another confusing thing. She writes something on the mirror in the fog because she's running a bath, or they run a bath. Now, this kill is confusing because she dies in scalding hot bathtub water. Bathtub water, I don't know about 1975, but where I come from, when I grew up, bath water did not get scalding unless you have a very hot water heater. But bathtub water does not get that hot. It scalds the skin on her. I was scratching my head going, wait, bathtub water isn't that hot? It gets hot, but not that hot, I don't think. But, yeah. And she writes something on the fog, and that guy comes in to investigate. He turns on the water again, he gets it fogged up, and he sees that it's written Stat, S-T-A-T, and I don't know what that means. It could be Italian, which is why I don't know what it means. It most likely is Italian, but I don't know what that means. So as American people are supposed to figure it out from that, I don't know what that means. Because later, when he's confronted by the killer, Marcus says, I saw the name. I'm like, what name? I don't know. Well, supposedly confronted by the killer. So, after this is where you get the finger pointing, where, you know, there's a running joke that I really don't get with Carlo's mother. He goes to visit Carlo first, and he meets his mother. And there's a running joke where she thinks that Mark is an engineer, even though he's a pianist. And she keeps saying, "Oh, an engineer and a pianist." And like, no, he's not an engineer. Even when he calls later, "Oh, I'm calling. I was calling for Carlo. Is he there?" And she's like, "No, who is it?" And she's like, "Oh, it's Mark." "Oh, Mark the engineer?" "No, I'm a pianist." It's like, okay, it's a running joke. It's a little funny after a while. But she says, "No, Carlo is out." And that's the finger pointing. You're like, oh, because we just saw the guy murdered and then he called Carlo, so Carlo must be the killer. I mean, oh, it's Carlo. And then like a minute, maybe a minute went by, and I'm like, wait, it can't be Carlo because he was there with him when the murder happened. From this point on, I'm going to tell you, go watch this movie. Go watch this movie. It's free on Vudu. Go watch it. Then come back because I'm going to spoil who the killer is. Alright? So I'm sitting there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go away. So I'm sitting there watching this. And when they point the finger at Carlo, I'm like, oh, so it's Carlo. Wait. Oh, so it must be Carlo. And I got up to get something to drink. And I stopped. And I went, wait. That doesn't make any sense because he was there when she was killed. He was standing right next to him. That doesn't make any sense unless he's being framed. I'm like, it must just be a mystery. There's got to be a mystery, right? Then we get to the end when he finds this desecrated body in the old abandoned house, which we've found out later is connected to Carlo. We'll get to it. And then he confronts Carlo. And he's like, I saw the name. I know it's you, Carlo. And I'm like, oh, it wasn't a misdirect. It is Carlo. I'm like, wait. That doesn't make any sense. They retconned something? Were scenes reshot and added? It doesn't make any sense. And then Carlo's death, which is really weird. Like, he points a gun at Mark. The police come charging through a window for some reason. Instead of the front door, I don't know. They just come charging through a window. And he runs out. He gets clipped by this bus or something. And gets dragged. And his head gets run over. Pretty cool kill. My favorite kill, though, is the one at the end from the actual killer. We'll get to it. Because it's so subtle and it's the way it's shot. Before I review the killer, I do like some of the way this stuff is shot. There's some stuff shot from the killer's point of view, which is very common in Italian giallo. And there's one shot from Mark's office where you go up through his window into him. I like that. I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool shot. They go through the window. You even see the little drapes kind of move to the side a little bit. It's a really cool shot. I like some of the shots in this very well. But so they assume it's Carlo, and it's all done. There is a scene where they sort of point it at Gianna, who is this reporter who wants the story. And at one point, I did actually think it was her. I'm like, what if she's doing this to get a story? it would be interesting. And then she shows up outside the house. Carlo is attacked, or not Carlo, Mark is attacked. And he wakes up, and this is before the Carlo thing, but he wakes up and the house is on fire and she's there. So that's another that's a misdirect. Another misdirect where it's like, okay, was it her? Because she's like, oh, I saw there was a light in there and they on fire and I pulled you out. And I'm like, okay. And then again, if it was her, she wouldn't have pulled him out. So, I don't know. Unless she fell in love with him and, I don't know. There wasn't really a romantic... I heard like the extended edition has more romantic scenes between them, which I don't know if it would work, but you know. And there is, even in this cut, there is some kind of things like there's an investigation or whatever, and there's some scenes and it cuts to this random dude going, oh, in the marketplace, and I'm like, wait, huh? And then you just show Mark walking down the street. I'm like, okay, that's a weird transition, but okay. But yeah, so after Carlo is killed, Mark is walking down in that same area where I saw the killing happen, and as he's walking, he stops. And he starts to realize what's going on. Realize what happened that night. He goes, no, it couldn't have been him. He was standing right next to me. He couldn't be the killer. He couldn't. And so he goes back up, and what I haven't mentioned yet is there was a thing at the beginning, because the killer is revealed right away if you pay attention. And even I didn't catch it at first, even though I kind of did, but I didn't put two and two together there. Because, so, beginning of this, when he goes in, beginning of the film, when he goes into, after the psychic is killed, he goes in and he's looking at all these paintings. And he sees one painting that later, when the cops come, he can't find again. He's like, there's something wrong here, something different. There was a painting. It's not here anymore. Like someone stole it. And then, so that at the end here, he's going through it. And he finds that the painting he saw was actually a mirror. And there's somebody standing on the painting opposite it, with their face combined with the painting, made the painting that he did. And yes, my thumbnail is sort of a spoiler, but you won't know what it means if you haven't seen the movie. But I like that framing of it with him and the painting in the mirror. But yeah, it was like, oh. And then that's when I put two and two together, because they reveal it's Carlo's mother. They have this scene at the beginning of the film that just shows this little boy with the music, holding a bloody knife over a dead body. And that is also a misdirect to make you think that Carlo is the killer, because when he's revealed, like, oh yeah, he's the little boy. Even though the little boy's blonde and Carlo has dark hair, but your hair changes when you grow, so, you know. So it's a misdirect to make, I like that. Argento did a misdirect with the boy to make you think he did it, but it's actually his mother. Although, the reasoning why she did it, she didn't want to go to the hospital. Now, they didn't explain why she has to go to the hospital, but she doesn't want to go to the hospital. So the fact that she killed, I think it's Carlo's father, her husband, with it, with a knife, it just, I'm not going to the hospital. That doesn't work for me. But then you see, you know, stabbing, and Carlo picks up the knife. And that's what you see at the beginning of this, is him picking up the knife, and you think he killed. So, yeah. It's a misdirect. And everything she's been doing, it was to keep, and Carlo has been trying to keep quiet and not, you know, his mother exposed. And she's been killing all these people to keep quiet so there's no connection. Even though I still don't get the mystery, right? The children's writer. I don't get that. My throat, sorry. I don't get the children's writer, why she had to be involved at all, but I don't know. And also, Gianna kind of just disappears at this point, and they have a scuffle. And my favorite kill comes here, because it's done so tastefully, where they're kind of fighting, and she gets pushed into the elevator, her necklace gets caught. The elevator goes down. He pushes the button, the elevator goes down, and it decapitates her, but you don't see the decapitation. It just, And then you see the necklace going down and it's bloody. And then you cut to a puddle of blood with Mark's face reflecting in it. And it says, "You have been watching Dario Argento's Deep Red." And I'm like, okay, it's a subtle ending. I mean, not subtle. It's a subtle kill. It's a quick ending, a jarring kind of ending where it's like, boom, the movie's over. Like, there's no resolution really after this. Like, oh, we're the killer, kill the killer, movie over. So it's very quick. But I liked it. That's kind of why I like the kill. It's very subtle. It's very, you see it's getting tighter and tighter, and then all of a sudden you see it pull away, you see the bloody necklace going down, and then a puddle of blood. Credit. Very good. Very well done. I like this movie, man. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to try to find a Blu-ray if they have an American release. I think they have an American release on Arrow. Arrow has American releases too, but well, I hope they do. So I'll have to look. Might be expensive, but I'm going to try to get this because I liked it. And yeah, I like the performance of David Hemmings. Even though it's kind of hard to judge a performance in the Jello film because everything is overdubbed, so it's really weird, but I liked it. So I'd have to say that Deep Red is pretty good. So what are your thoughts on Deep Red? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.